Eddie Chavez, Ruben Nava, and Jesse Romero. Jesus 911.
Good morning, Jesus 911 on Virgin Most Powerful Radio. Two-man car, 10-8, and we're open for calls. My name is Ruben Nava. My partner is Jesse Romero. Jesse, good morning, sir.
Good morning. Reporting for duty, sir, 10-8. And we're here to give you some Catholic briefing, intel. Put all this in your war bag, your gym bag, your purse, your backpack, whatever you carry when you hit the streets, and go out there and evangelize and make this a better world.
That's right, Jesse. We've got a lot going on in this world, Jesse. Give us some good news. What's happening in Arizona?
Well, Ruben, I think it's going to start happening like a tsunami because there's a lot of states that have opened up, and this is going to put pressure on California, New York, some of the other states, Washington State, excuse me. It's going to put pressure on some of the other what we'd call blue states to start seeing, wow, well, look at this. These states that have opened up and they're back into full service, it hasn't affected them at all negatively. So maybe we are overreacting. And I think, again, it's going to be a good thing that a lot of these red states are opening up because they're going to show that all we have to do is a lot of common sense stuff like we've always done, Ruben. If you're sick, stay home. That's what it's always been.
Yeah.
Wash your hands. Don't be a dirty dude. Wash your hands. That's common sense. Don't cough on people's face. And people maintain they're still trying to maintain that social distancing in places that are opening up. And that's just a common sense approach. But I think that the lockdown, the self quarantine. This is worse, Ruben, than the actual virus in terms of depression, suicide, drug use, and everything else.
Oh, I agree.
So, yeah. So we just got to here's some good news. Terry was told by the Bishop of San Gabriel, that Archbishop Gomez was having some high-level talks with the governor, and he's making headway with him. So apparently Archbishop Gomez is actually, bucking and fighting for the Catholics there in the state of California,
wow.
And that he's having high-level talks with the governor. So he's not sitting on his hands doing nothing like some people may think. He's actually in contact with Governor Newsom and stuff, and apparently he's advocating for you guys. So let's just hope and pray that this continues.
Yeah, Jesse. I've got a newfound hero. We're going to talk about a police officer who was suspended for criticizing the tyrannical lockdown. And it's reporting by the Washington Post, or Washington Times, I should say. I've looked into this officer, and I've listened to his talk. That
I'm impressed with him, Ruben.
Yeah, it got him in trouble, but
muscular Christianity, dude.
Absolutely, Jess. He's a Port of Seattle police officer, and he's been put on paid administrative leave, so he's still getting a paycheck, but. He made a video on his personal social media account calling the state's lockdown orders tyrannical. I
he's right
completely with what he's saying.
He's right. Yeah, exactly.
The video quickly went viral, leading to Officer Greg Anderson's suspension. And Anderson posted the video on May 7th, 2020 on his Instagram account in uniform. I think that was his problem. The officer encouraged
That's what got him in trouble.
Yeah, the officer encouraged fellow police officers to stand up for what's right in defiance of the state orders, which he felt infringed upon the constitutional rights during the COVID-19 pandemic. So he talks about how he's seen people arrested and cited for going to church. He stated in his video regarding lockdown orders of the state of Washington. He further added, I don't know what crime people are committing for doing nails in their own house. People are getting, cited for playing in the park with their kids or surfing on the beach, out around nobody, So, he says we just have to ask ourselves as police officers, and he's speaking to the police officers.
Fellow cops, Ruben.
Yeah. Is what I am doing is right, So the entire post was filmed inside his patrol car,
That's where he got in trouble. You just nailed it right there.
Well, yeah,
Because he did the video inside the patrol car in uniform on duty. That's where they're going to get him. But everything he said is absolutely true, Ruben, 100%. But they're going to get him on those little, policy issues, making, political. I'm sure there's a little policy that says you can't make political or advocate politically while you're in uniform. That's what they're going to fire him on.
The sheriff's department has that, on our department. We can't talk politics, in uniform. In fact, you can't even put on social media off duty in plain clothes things that are let's say racist or things that would put down like homophobe and all this stuff. You have to keep those because you're part of a large organization and you can't bring shame on the department, so they can nail you. At least our department is like that.
I think all of them, Ruben. That's why my two sons that are cops, they got off of social media before they started the academy. Mm-hmm. They said, you know what, this stuff is going to come back and bite me if I put something dumb. And they said, we'll never use social media again now that we're cops because, again, we're held to a higher standard even off duty.
And, this guy, he's, Greg Anderson, he's the real deal.
Oh, yeah.
I reached out to him actually yesterday to on Instagram.
Good, I figured you would. Good job.
I reached out to see if he would come on. You see, this is what happened when he put out his video. His command staff was praising him. They were saying, "Hey, yeah, great. We believe, we agree with you. What you're saying." 3 hours later, he was told to remove it, and he says, "I can't do that. This is what I stand for. This is what this is true. We're trampling on the rights of citizens. Their constitutional rights are being infringed." And so his chief of police talked to him, and he says, I like the chief of police. He goes, "Sir, I have to respectfully disagree and I would shake your hand right now and say that, I'm sorry, I can't do it. I disagree, but this is what I stand for, and he says, well, the governor, what you've done is you've gone against the governor's orders. And so, see, it went political. It went higher than the chief, even though the chief may have felt as Officer Anderson, he the governor who they take the orders from is putting his foot down. It's a liberal governor, and just a little history on Anderson. This guy, he served in combat. He was fighting on the streets of Ramadi in Iraq in 2004, 2005. He was an Army Ranger, Jesse.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, he did contract work in Iraq after that, and then he became a federal marshal, and he even went to LASD, Sheriff's Department SWAT school, basic SWAT school. He's got a certificate for that, and eventually he moved up to Seattle. Oh, so, yeah, because he left law enforcement to go move up to Seattle because his dad was sick and was teaching jiu-jitsu up there. This guy's a black belt, and
this guy's somebody you want in your department, Ruben.
Absolutely. He's got everything checked off. He had
and especially common sense. Not only is his bio amazing, but he's got common sense, Ruben, what a lot of these blue state governors don't have.
Mm. Yeah, you've probably heard of the guys he trained with, the Vieira brothers out of Brazil. He had a studio, I guess a checkmate studio in Corona, and the guy was he's the real deal. And yeah. I think, law enforcement has to come together. And the point he's making is that people are going to get tired of the government infringing on their rights, and it's going to wake a sleeping giant, and it's going to get
He wants to prevent, Ruben, he wants to prevent this powder keg from exploding and seeing citizens rise up and the police having to intervene in this country, and it's going to turn like a Tiananmen Square. It's going to get ugly. People are going to be killed on both sides. This is what he's trying to prevent. He's saying cops don't need to be enforcing unlawful orders from governors that go against the Constitution because the people aren't going to put up with it, and cops are going to be killed.
Right.
And civilians will be killed too because cops are going to try to defend. It's an ugly situation that he's trying to stop.
Mm-hmm. I hate to say it, man, but a lot of these, the people who are going to stand up, they're the Second Amendment people,
That's what he's alluding to.
Yeah, They're the Second Amendment people, and they're gonna, they're armed. These green folks, these people who are into
They got water
climate
pistols.
change, they're gonna be throwing water balloons, and it's not gonna.
They're going to be slapping you with their white gloves.
So this is it's something. If you haven't seen his talk, and if you're a first responder, you gotta look him up. It's right on, and I think we're living in a time that we've never seen before. And,
Never.
And I think if I was out there, I would be doing exactly what he's doing. Obviously, I wouldn't be, saying it from in uniform in my radio car, but I would not be enforcing these laws. If they asked me to go, cite somebody, I'd say, I'm sorry, man, I can't do that. Or I just tell them, hey, give them a warning, say, hey, go on your way, But you going into somebody's house to arrest them because they're opening a business, they're doing someone's nails because they're trying to make a living and feed their children. That's just ludicrous. And to think that you can just go pull a car over without reasonable suspicion or probable cause because you want to find out if they got papers to saying that they're an essential worker. Come on, please. There's enough crime out there. You stop crooks.
Don't make stuff up that's not there. Ruben, these blue state leftist governors are overreaching, and they're placing their jackboot on the neck of these citizens. This is the powder keg waiting to explode, and this cop is trying to prevent something bad from happening all over the country between good cops and good citizens.
That's right. We'll come back. We're gonna be coming back and talking about it. What's going on? Coronavirus.
Jesus said to the apostles in Luke chapter 10, "Whoever listens to you listens to me, and whoever rejects you rejects me." According to St. Boniface, in her voyage across the ocean of this world, the church is like a great ship being pounded by the waves of life's different stresses. Our duty is not to abandon ship, but to keep her on course. May our Lord help us remain ever faithful to His church, to aid and defend her.
How does the baby move in your tummy? How does the baby eat? Can the baby hear me? How did the baby get in there?
Wow, a pregnancy can sure generate a lot of questions. But what's important is that a baby is a baby, inside and out of the womb. Not just after birth, but 9 months before, at conception.
That's right. Every baby is a miracle. Hello, my name is Marianne Koharski. I'm the director of Pro-Life Across America. If you know someone who is pregnant or in need of alternatives or assistance or would like to support the work of Pro-Life Across America, please visit our website at prolifeacrossamerica.org, or better yet, simply dial pound 250 on your cell phone and say the keyword pro-life. Pro-Life Across America is non-political and totally educational.
A baby's heart is beating 18 days from conception. Pro-life across America, the Billboard people.
Buying or selling your home or your business property? This is Terry Barber. Real Estate for Life underwrites The Terry and Jesse Show. And they can connect you to one of 900 pro-life real estate agents around the world. And when they receive their referral fee, they will give 80% of it to a pro-life organization. Wow! That's 80%! realestateforlife.org, 877-LIFE, US 1.
Now, back to Jesus 911. If this call is not an emergency, dial 888-526-2151.
We are back, Jesus 911, two-man car, and we're switching gears. We're actually going to be talking about how the media is refusing to report that 7 women have charged Joe Biden with sexual abuse. The media is ignoring 7 women, and that claim that they've been sexually assaulted. And, where's the outrage? Jesse, you want to go ahead and start this?
Ruben, where's the Me Too movement at this moment? I mean, anytime, I don't care who you are, this should cross party lines. But let's just be honest. When a Republican or a conservative official is accused of sexually abusing women in their past, it's all over the news. It's splashed all over the news. You could just see what the fake allegations that they brought up against Brett Kavanaugh.
Right.
But, when we were in the sheriff's department, I remember I'd see pictures of Lady Justice. She was blindfolded. But in this country, unfortunately, it's not blind, Ruben. Justice is not blind. Lady Justice is only blind when it comes to bringing justice to the rich and famous liberal progressives like Joe Biden. Joe Biden has 7 allegations against him, not of having consensual fornicating relationships with women. That's a mortal sin in Catholic theology. No, he's being accused of sexual assaults. 7 of them. And the liberal media it's just silent about this.
Absolutely.
And I'm asking myself, is this the type of person? Let's say if this was on the other foot. I mean, they were making a big what to do about President Trump. They're saying President Trump had fornicating relationships. I forgot how they put it. But it was consensual fornicating relationships with 2 women, which is a mortal sin, of course. Called the sin of fornication, right? But he didn't assault them. Those women had actually said, "Oh yeah, we were paid off. We had no problem with it. Mm-hmm. Give me some money and I'll disrobe." That's different, Ruben, from assaulting women.
Absolutely.
And there's reliable, credible allegations. I mean, you could see if it was one woman saying this 30 years ago, you'd probably say, this guy's they have an axe to grind. They're trying to bring up something just to try to, blow apart this guy's reelection.
This is
recent.
But
7 women? It's all very consistent. And just look at the way he comports himself in public with women. He's always hugging up on them, smelling their hair. He kisses every woman that he can. There was a Hispanic politician from Nevada. She even made an allegation. She just was and she's a Democrat and pro Biden. She was upset the fact that he was smelling on her hair and hugging her from behind. This is consistent behavior from this man.
Weird.
Ruben, he's a disgrace to the Catholic Church. I'm just going to say it. Okay. Joe Biden not only is a sexual predator, but Joe Biden, this guy's wrong on all the issues. You know what Joe Biden calls killing babies and abortions? He calls abortion essential health care that cannot be delayed.
Wow.
What else do we know about Joe Biden?
Well, it started with Tara Reid, and she was interning for him, and in the back in Washington, and her allegations, they've been searing through the right-leaning press for months. Only now they're coming out on the left and mainstream media, but that's all you hear about. And going back to her case, she said she reported it, that she said, "Hey, that I don't like what he's doing to me, what he did to me. He actually, that was a sexual assault. It was, I in California it would have been 289 of the Penal Code, I believe.
It would have been booked and booked.
Yeah, and he." Not only she told friends, she told neighbors about it. So she has people that are coming forward and saying, "Yeah, I remember her telling me."
Her mom
this.
called up Larry King on CNN. It's recorded.
Absolutely. So and now her mom's since passed in 2016. But that you can't. That's on record. That hey, she didn't mention Joe Biden's name, but she said my daughter, who's working in Washington, and so they could. They don't. There's so much more evidence on this case than the gal that was accusing Kavanaugh of abusing her in high school, and so. But they're not taking this stuff serious. And I didn't know about these 7 women. The 7 include Ellie Cole, a former Democratic staffer whose allegations go back as far as 2008. Amy Lapos, a former congressional aide who claims Biden pawed at her inappropriately.
Ruben, they're all Democrat women.
Yes.
They're not. They like him. They vote for the Democrats. They're Biden supporters.
Yeah, unlike the people that were accusing Kavanaugh or accusing Trump. These were people who were left leaning. They were on the payroll in many cases. They were aides of Clinton and friends of the DNC. And so another lady, Caitlin Caruso, college student, a sexual assault survivor who charged Biden with touching her against her will. DJ Hill, a writer who claims Biden assaulted her in 2012. These are recent. Vale Koner Yount, a former White House intern who says Biden began feeling her up in 2013. A former Nevada State Assemblywoman, Lucy Flores, that's probably the one you're talking about.
That's the one I'm talking about.
Who says Biden grabbed at her and began caressing her against her will in 2014. Sophie Karasik, who says that Biden crossed over the line with his behavior against her in 2016. And, of course, the seventh one is Tara Reid herself. Whereas there was only one woman accusing Brett Kavanaugh of anything 2 years ago, and the media went out of full court press to destroy his character and life to keep him out of the place of power because they believe all women. They said they are utterly ignoring 7 extremely credible women, many with video evidence, who are accusing Joe Biden of sexual improprieties. I think what their plan is, Jesse, because you don't see him going out on the road. He's locked away in his house, and it seems like they've got former President Obama doing his speaking for him because they know this guy, he's a mess, and they don't want people asking him questions. And his memory is slipping away. And
yeah, he doesn't. Let's be honest. He doesn't even have the intellectual firepower to go out there on the road and answer questions and give speeches. And especially, he doesn't have the intellectual firepower to go up against on a one-on-one debate with the most lucid, the best rhetoric I've ever heard for a president in my lifetime, President Donald Trump. I mean, it's gonna be ugly if they put those guys in the pit and they go one-on-one on a debate. Plus, not only that, Ruben, Biden has 30 years as a politician. He's got so much dirt on him. This guy's, first of all, he's the best friend communist China's ever had. Okay?
Yeah.
So if we think that China isn't our friend, which we know they're not our friend, this guy's the friend of China. And one of the things that got me years ago, I heard Joe Biden say on television, he said, the greatest contribution that I gave in 8 years with Barack Obama, he says, it was me. I'm the one that pushed Barack Obama to push through same-sex marriage. He says he was against it. I convinced him, and it was through my tenacity that we rammed it through from state to state and then finally through the courts. So if you want to know what the great contribution of this man was for 8 years as a vice president, he'll tell you himself. He says, he has a same-sex marriage. That's my greatest contribution in 8 years. Ruben, this guy, if he lived in the days of Sodom and Gomorrah, he would be hit by lightning 1,000 times over. What he did, Ruben, as a baptized Catholic, he went against a sin is anything that offends God. But in Catholicism, we have venial sin. You could still be saved if you have venial sin. Then you got mortal sin. That cuts you off from the life of God. You'll go to hell if you die in mortal sin. Then you got something worse than mortal sin. It's called the 4 sins that scream the vengeance from heaven. Homosexual sodomy is one of the 4 sins that's mortal sins on steroids. It's like mortal sin supersized. This man, Joe Biden, a baptized Catholic, had this passed in this country. He stuck his finger in God's eye. And let me tell you something. If he doesn't repent, there's going to be a special place for him in the afterlife.
That's right, Jesse. That exactly hit it on the nail on the head. If he doesn't repent, and there's no
indication
that he's looking to repent.
He's an obstinate, stubborn sinner, sinful man.
Yeah,
and that brags about this, Ruben.
And we're not here to tell you to who to vote for, but look at the evidence. What this guy what he's done in his public life, and he's pushed for abortion, and he's pushed, like Jesse just said, for same-sex marriage, and is that who you want running the country? And I think the Democrats know that they got problems, and so. I don't know. There's probably two ways they could go about it. They could let him get whacked with these allegations and get dismissed, and then they could put whoever they want on the ticket, and or they just let him try to be silent about it, and then I'm kind of thinking that they might push Michelle Obama as his running mate, and that's what I'm fearful of.
So she would step right in,
and it would give Barack a place right back in the White House.
Exactly.
And he would.
Yeah, that makes sense to me, Ruben. Ruben, another thing, if Joe Biden wins, he's already went on record saying that he wants Christians are Catholics and Protestants. He says that he wants Christians on a terror watch list. Any Christian who opposes LGBTQ agenda.
Unbelievable.
He wants Christians on a terror watch list if we oppose the LGBTQ agenda. Ruben, we would be on if Biden won for president, we would be on his watch list.
Wow. This is ludicrous. I can't even fathom that we're talking about this, Jesse. Is this mic on? This is what it's come down to, ladies and gentlemen. I'm fearful of what it could turn into if they allow this this pandemic to continue and they allow this guy to take office. So we have to pray. We have to pray harder that that God's will be done, and that He allows our president the grace and the fortitude and the will to continue. And this guy, I mean, he's starting to look tired. This poor President Trump, he's starting to look tired. They're wearing him out, but he keeps fighting for you and I, Jesse. And
that you said it. He's fighting for us, Ruben. He doesn't need this job.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't need this job. Most people say, okay, I'm out of here. I'm gone. I'm going to my mansion. See ya. You guys figure it out.
Yeah. Anyway, what's up? What's coming up next, Jesse?
How the coronavirus shutdown favors green development. Yeah, there's a whole agenda behind this coronavirus. They're in league with the Go Green movement. So we'll talk about that next. The way they want to transform our economy.
Got it. Be right back.
Hi, this is Jesse Romero from the Terry and Jesse Show, also from Jesus 911. Let's face it, we all need to use the internet, but we need screen accountability. Why? Pornography is a huge problem, especially on the internet. And every time we tap into the internet, we get bombarded with images and temptations that degrade our humanity. So we need Covenant Eyes to block these pornographic sites and advertisements from infiltrating our lives. Covenant Eyes helps us take custody of our eyes and custody of our intellect. So I recommend you go to covenanteyes.com and type in the promo code VMPR to support the network. Protect yourself and your family from the imminent threats on the internet. www.covenanteyes.com, code VMPR. Live porn free. Thank you for listening to Virgin Most Powerful Radio. Thank you. God bless you. Keep the faith.
This is Terry Barber. I want to thank you for supporting Virgin Most Powerful Radio. And here's an easy way to support us by going to smile.amazon.com and type in Catholic Resource Center or Virgin Most Powerful Radio. And when you log in your Amazon account and you purchase products, a portion of it will go right back in supporting Virgin Most Powerful Radio. And it doesn't cost you a dime. I want to thank you ahead of time because that supports us year-round. May God bless you and your family. Buying or selling your home or your business property? This is Terry Barber. Real Estate for Life underwrites the Terry and Jesse Show. And they can connect you to one of 900 pro-life real estate agents around the world. And when they receive their referral fee, they will give 80% of it to a pro-life organization. Wow, that's 80%. realestateforlife.org, 877-LIFE-US1.
Now, back to Jesus 911. If this call is not an emergency, dial 888-526-2151.
Jesus 911, two-man car. We are 10A. We're entering our third segment here. We're switching gears to talk about how the coronavirus shutdown favors a green de-development. I didn't say redevelopment. I said de-development.
Mm-hmm.
That's going the opposite direction.
Yep.
So let's get into this, Jesse. The debate rages over stay-at-home orders during the coronavirus pandemic. Most conservative opposition has focused on the damage to the economy, excessive government surveillance, or the massive increase in government debt. These are very valid, important concerns, but the coronavirus, its most enduring damage will not lower GDP, higher debt, or even lost jobs. The shutdown is a valuable opportunity for radical Greens. That's the name for these lefties that want to.
Bernie Sanders AOC types.
Yeah, the new Green New Deal people, to impose what they have been dreaming about for decades: permanent de-development. Jesse?
For radical Greens, the Go Green movement, the final goal of environmentalism is not to eliminate pollution or build solar panels or reduce carbon dioxide emissions. The real cause of our ecological crisis, according to the Go Green, the Go Green fanatics, is Western civilization. They'll say that it produced our hierarchical relationship with the natural order and our free market economy based on private property. And so the Go Green disciples, they say that our environmental problems, therefore, are not economic or social or political, but civilizational. And they've got some young girl that they've appointed their prophet. Her name's Greta Thunberg. She has said, to fight climate change, we need system change. Now, this young Swedish environmental activists on climate change, they're touting her around the world, and they're trying to give her this soapbox to speak to political leaders and assemblies as she's urging everybody to address the climate crisis.
Hey, Jesse, just real quick, she's, unlike AOC, where she's still riding on planes, they put down the pollution that the planes cause. Well, Greta, I think when she came to speak in New York, she didn't travel by plane. She traveled by boat, like 14 days on a boat, and had to use the restroom in a bucket, and ate.
But she's trying to be consistent with her with her cause.
Yeah, at least she's living what she's preaching, and not like these Bernie Sanders with his mansions and AOC with her lavish lifestyle. Go ahead.
The climate justice fight here in the U.S. and around the world is not just a fight against the biggest ecological crisis of our time, explains Maya Yoshitani, executive director of the Asian Pacific Environmental Network. It's a fight for a new economy, a new energy system, a new democracy, a new relationship to the planet and to each other. This is the language of these prophets of the ecology. Here she says, we are bound together in this battle, not just for a reduction in the parts per million of CO2, but to transform our economies and rebuild a world that we want today, close quote. So the solution that these environmentalist prophets, what they propose, is called de-development. That means the dismantling of our modern economy based on profit and private property. In fact, two prophets of the ecology, John Holdren and Paul Ehrlich, in 1973, they wrote a book called Human Ecology, Problems and Solutions. So what we're seeing right now, Ruben, is actually the playbook. They're actually implementing their solution to try to transform our economy the way they want it.
Yeah. And these globalists like Bill Gates, he's right in the middle of this too, because population control is
part of
their
it.
way to stop using the natural resources. So a massive campaign must be launched to restore a high-quality environment in North America and to de-develop the United States. De-development means bringing our economic system, especially the patterns of consumption, into line with the realities of ecology and the global resource situation. The need for de-development presents our economists with a major challenge. They say that they must design a stable, low-consumption economy in which there is much more equitable distribution of wealth than in the present one. So that's communism right there, distribution of wealth.
Exactly.
Redistribution of wealth both within and among nations is absolutely essential if a decent life is to be provided for every human being.
That's what these ecological prophets say. They want to implement socialism/communism. That's what the fight's all about right now. Make no mistakes.
Take from the haves, give to the have-nots,
And what does St. Paul say? He says, whoever does not work should not eat. Now, don't get me wrong. I know there's people in situations like widows and orphans. The Bible says in James chapter 1, we should always take care of the widows and orphans. That's Christianity. Yeah. That's essential Christianity. And I agree. As Americans and as Catholic Christians, widows and orphans should always be taken care of. But that's a big difference, Ruben, from a 21 to a 31-year-old young man, perfect condition, smoking marijuana every day, who wants to just sit down in his laptop, watch pornography, play with himself, and drink beer and not work because he says he has a headache and they don't pay him enough, and I'm not going to work for minimum wage. I don't think, Ruben, that we should be taking care of malingerers. Orphans and widows, we should take care of them all day long. But they're breeding a society, Ruben, of malcontents and misfits and degenerates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the heroin addicts on the streets of San Francisco are getting free needles, so they continue their nefarious activity, and it boggles the mind. Yves de Boer, who held the top climate position in the United Nations until 2009, remarked that the only way we can achieve a 2-degree temperature reduction goal is to shut down the whole global economy.
And that's what they did.
Yep. Kevin Anderson and Alice Bowes-Larkin of the Tyndall Center for Climate Change Research in the UK and two of Britain's top climate change activists stated that emissions cuts off 10% of so, as advocated by many environmental groups, are not nearly enough. We must implement a radical and immediate degrowth strategies in the U.S., EU, and other wealthy nations. And remember, this climate change stuff is a theory. This is not it's not
science.
Locked in science, negative. That's right.
When the United Nations, and by the way, a lot of scientists say it's junk science, by the way. When the United Nations published its new Sustainable Development Goals, which is just another way of saying global warming, climate change, in 2015, many radical Greens attacked it for not going far enough. Speaking for many, anthropologist Jason Hickel of the London School of Economics affirmed that growth isn't an option anymore. The real cause of our environmental crisis is not pollution per se, but the Western model of economic growth based on private property, profit, and free enterprise. By the way, memo to Catholics, these are 3 Catholic principles that made Western civilization great, that came from Catholicism: private property, profit, and free enterprise. These are contributions given to the world by the Catholic Church over 1,000 years ago, and this is in part what's made Western civilization great. And the global warming ecological prophets are saying this is precisely what has to be destroyed. I'm telling you that there is a collision course that's happening right now between the culture of life and the culture of death. The article says, so what does this mean for our theory of development? Instead of pushing poor countries to catch up with rich ones, we should be thinking of ways to get rich countries to catch down.
My goodness.
To more appropriate levels of development. We should look at societies where people live long and happy lives at relatively low levels of income and consumption as exemplars of efficient living. Ruben, the Democrat Socialist Party of America wants to turn the U.S. to a big Venezuela, a big Cuba, a big Bolivia. That's what they want. They're not going to be happy until they get it done.
You're absolutely right. The peoples of the Western world need to dismantle, they say, their economies and live poorer, more communitarian, and more sustainable lifestyles. Do they not think for a moment that at some point government money runs out, and when you can't prosper by taxing people into prosperity. You just can't. And so someone eventually the money was going to run out, and then what? So they must sacrifice their cheap, abundant energy and free enterprise economy to save planet Earth. And not surprisingly, Hickel's model country is communist Cuba, just like you said, which he regards not as underdevelopment, but rather as appropriately developed. Poverty in communist regimes is a feature, not a bug. Then why don't they just go move over there, Jesse? I don't understand that. Why do they want to impose that on us? If they're not happy here, go to Venezuela, go to, China, go to Cuba.
You're right. Nothing stops them from leaving.
Go.
Move out.
Right.
You hate this country, get out of here.
Yeah.
Just
like those people, those celebrities were saying, if President Trump gets elected, I'm moving out. George Lopez is still here. Your buddy's still here, Jesse.
Yeah. They're all liars, Ruben. That's all. It's all talk. They know this is the best country in the world. Even though they're trying to destroy it, it's still the best country on planet Earth to live in.
And if they destroy it, it won't be the best country. That's the point. It won't be able to help anybody.
Exactly. And make no mistake, these go green prophets, they're doing everything in their power to bring that poverty to the West. We're seeing it right now with this shutdown in many red states. In many blue states. In February 2019, Democrats in Congress launched the Green New Deal, the most radical green manifesto in decades. Among other things, it seeks to end modern agriculture, phase out hydrocarbon-based energy, and implement a massive state takeover of the economy. Such policies would make food and energy far more expensive, destroy tens of millions of jobs, and develop the United States. I'm going to make it very simple. 2020 election is simply this. You want to keep America the way it is right now, capitalism, private property, free enterprise, or you want socialism. That's exactly what you're going to be voting for in 2020 of November.
That's what we're talking about, and we're going to finish up on this in the next segment. Don't change that dial. Be right back.
Hands-on Apologetics, you have entered into Virgin Most Powerful's Apologetics Dojo, where we go wall to wall with defending, explaining, sharing the faith. Master Apologist Carlo Broussard. Carlo, welcome to Hands-on Apologetics.
Hey, Gary, it's great to be back in the dojo, my friend.
Master Apologist Ken Hensley. Welcome to Hands-on Apologetics.
Good to see you again, Gary. Good to be with you.
Michael Barber, welcome. You have entered into the Virgin Most Powerful's Apologetics Dojo.
Gary, thanks for having me on.
We are chatting with Master Apologist Carl Keating.
Gary, it's great to be back with you.
Coming into the dojo is our good friend Steve Ray.
Thank you, Gary. Good to be here.
Tim Staples, welcome to Hands-on Apologetics.
Hey, it's great to be with you, Gary. Thanks for having me on.
Join many others in Gary Machuda's Apologetics Dojo.
We have some of the best Catholic apologists in the nation.
Streaming live weekdays from 10 to 11 a.m. Pacific. Hands-on Apologetics on Virgin Most Powerful Radio.
Hebrews 11:3 says, "By faith we come to understand." According to St. Augustine, understanding is the reward of faith. Therefore, seek not to understand that you may believe, but believe that you may understand. May God grant us a strong living faith in Him and His divine plan of salvation, and help us to believe so that we may understand.
Buying or selling your home or your business property? This is Terry Barber. Real Estate for Life underwrites the Terry and Jesse Show. And they can connect you to one of 900 pro-life real estate agents around the world. And when they receive their referral fee, they will give 80% of it to a pro-life organization. Wow! That's 80%! realestateforlife.org, 877-LIFE-US1.
Now, back to Jesus 911. If this call is not an emergency, dial 888-526-2151.
We are back, Two-Man Car. If you stay ready, you're going to have to get ready, Jesse. And we're going through this article on the coronavirus shutdown, and it favors...
Very well written by our friend Dr. John Horvat.
That's right. And then people can find this article on our website, and it's talking about de-development. That's what the globalists and the Green people, the Green Party, the Green New Deal people want. And so naturally, such radical plans have met with severe pushback for many years now. The Green agenda has struggled to win over public opinion. President Trump's 2017 withdrawal from the Paris Climate Agreement, a move widely supported by Americans, dealt the Green movement a crushing defeat. In Europe, I don't know if I'm saying it right, Gilets protest movement erupted.
That's good enough for me.
In part as a reaction to fuel taxes imposed by the French government to fulfill its commitments to the Paris Agreement. That
shocked the world, Ruben, when we pulled out of the Paris Accords, and essentially President Trump said, we're already, as an industrial nation, we already have reduced our, carbon footprint and CO2 emissions more than any other industrial country in the world. So we're doing our part.
Yeah.
So he just pulled out. No need to be part of this world. U.S. is doing above and beyond what any other country is doing.
You don't see them putting the pressure on China. I mean, China's their emissions is it's
horrible.
Horrible. The industries, black smoke all over the place. And attempts to curtail the agriculture have also failed. May 2019, a court decision in the Netherlands, the second largest agricultural exporter in the world, ruled that the country was out of compliance with the European Union rules for nitrogen emissions. So the Dutch government, they tried to force farmers to reduce production in October. Protests erupted, which is probably what's going to happen here if this takes place. Tens of thousands of Dutch farmers drove their tractors into the Hague and their other cities, causing massive traffic jams. Polls show that 3/4 of the Dutch population support the farmers. I think you'd find that here too. We support our farmers. And consider last year's global climate strike in the lead up to the UN's COP25 environmental summit. In Chile, green activists organized hundreds of climate marches around the world. Thousands of activists marched in a giant climate strike to push global Green New Deal.
And going back to Greta Thunberg, the star of the global green movement, every time she speaks, she gives hysterical speeches, but she gave an apocalyptic speech at the UN's Climate Action Summit in New York, and she says, "The actions of all future generations are upon you," she was shouting.
Yeah.
She says, "If you choose to fail us, I say we will never forgive you. We will not let you get away with this. Right here, right now is where we draw the line," close quote. They're trying to gin up, Ruben, all the millennials, all the low information millennials, all the low information college kids, and they're using her as kind of the prophet for the young people to get them really ginned up and to get them behind this whole climate action movement, and to draw public support for this radical green policies that around the world they're barely budging. People with common sense. Again, once you start working and paying bills, you start pushing back because you know what this is. They want to reach into your wallet, turn you upside down. They want to shake out whatever extra money you have.
Yeah. There's a astrophysicist, Fred Singer. He's written a book called Hot Talk, Cold Science. It's essential reading for anyone who wants to know about the subject of this global warming. And he takes a hard look at it, scientific look at the evidence. So he explores the inaccuracies in historical climate data, the limitations of attempting to model climate on computers, solar variability, and its impact on the climate, the effects of clouds, ocean currents, and sea levels on global climate, the factors that could mitigate any human impacts on world climate. It's masterful, and he talks about all this stuff. So he refutes all the stuff. I think, Jesse, it's just a way to take money from the people and do what they want to do. Kind of a shell game. We're dumping millions and billions of dollars into this to fight global warming. That's just a theory. In fact,
Ruben, it's a war you can't win either, because God is in charge of the environment. God moves and does and undoes. And so it's like we're trying to fight against God. Okay, we don't want it to be hot over here, so we're going to war. We're throwing money into the trash can.
Mm-hmm.
We just have, their whole point is, Ruben, is this to depopulate planet Earth. That's their end run. They want to depopulate planet Earth by saying, oh, there's too many people. That's why, Mother Earth is having a fever. I just heard yesterday from a scientist that 80% of people on Earth live on 3% of Earth's landmass. Okay? So only about 3% of Earth's landmass is populated, and 80% of the people live on 3% of the landmass. 97% of Earth's landmass is untouched.
Wow. Yeah. I think that this is kind of the meat of the article here, is that the green activists, they're frustrated that they cannot push their agenda forward. Most Americans and Europeans simply do not believe the global warming is a threat that requires such radical measures as the Green New Deal. Many others see environmentalism for what it is, a vehicle for communism. Until a few months ago, the outlook for the radical green agenda was grim. So, that was the cash value to the whole article, right, that we just read. Yep. And, there's a lot of people speaking out, like Rahm Emanuel, former chief of staff under President Obama, was so bold as to reprise his famous phrase from the 2008 financial crisis: never allow good crisis to go to waste. Start planning for the future. This has to be the last pandemic that creates an economic depression. We're going to have more pandemics, but this has to be the last economic depression. They're trying to bring this economy down, Jesse. Because
that's the only way that they can implement communism, and that's what they want.
Yeah,
that's their end game, and they have to destroy the principles of Christianity, which are private property, profit, and free enterprise. Those are the three Catholic principles that made Western civilization what it is today. It makes us the envy of the world versus the other models. Take a look at Cuba. Take a look at Venezuela. That happens when you don't implement the models of Christianity. And I'll tell you, here's what the Catholic Church teaches, and here's where the tension's at right now, Ruben, is that the Catholic Church has always taught that the state has power, obviously, to enact laws. The church calls that the principle of authority, that every country, they have the power and the duty to enact laws which are for the common good. But that's the key, for the common good of the social body. But although the Catholic Church has always taught within Catholic social teaching that the country has authority to enact laws, they have to be for the common good. That's the key operative word. Communism isn't good for anybody. Destroying people's livelihood isn't good for anybody. So as a Catholic, yes, the government has authority to enact laws for the common good. But just like the cop in the first segment that we talked about, when the government that does have authority, New Testament, Old Testament, Catholic Church teaches this, but when they're enacting laws that are detrimental to the common good, that's when we have to push back and say no more. Because there's two things that are important for Catholics. One of them is called the principle of subsidiarity, which means that what can be done by an individual or a smaller group should never be assigned to a larger group. In other words, let the city of, Rancho Cucamonga take care of the city of Rancho Cucamonga. We shouldn't have Governor Gavin Newsom telling them how to run their city. That's the principle of subsidiarity, which the governors in blue states are violating. Mm-hmm. They're going above and beyond what the mayors are saying. The city council they're saying, let them run their own city. That violates the Catholic principle of subsidiarity. And then there's also the Catholic principle of solidarity, which means that we have the ability, the church, we promote that the life of citizens that we should support and complement each other. Support each other's businesses, go to restaurants, go to gyms. That's called the principle of solidarity in Catholicism. That brings balance and harmony into a society. But when you don't allow people to get together, that violates the principle of solidarity. Yeah, Ruben, these blue state governors are completely violating the Catholic social order.
Yep. And our Pope here, the Pope Francis, in his encyclical Laudato Si, he sees the pandemic as an opportunity to implement the anti-development the ideas and that's what he talks about in his Laudato Si. And the shutdowns are an opportunity to slow down our rate of pop production and consumption and to move from using and misusing nature to contemplating it. Even some of these people in the Vatican, like Leonardo Boff, the Brazilian liberation theologian and co-author of Laudato Si, wrote in a blog post that the coronavirus is a retaliation of Gaia, or for mankind.
That's Earth Goddess. That's Mother Earth Goddess, Gaia.
Yeah, it's in Greek mythology. The personification of the earth and one of the Greek primordial deities. Gaia is the ancestral mother of all life, and that's a Catholic prince of the apostles.
They're modernists, Ruben. We've been infiltrated. And once people understand that, then they're going to understand why we have stupid statements coming from people that are supposed to be successors of the apostles. They're going to pay for it. I'm going to tell you, Ruben, you want to be a false prophet? I don't want to die and stand before Jesus Christ being a false prophet with a mitre and a Roman collar. And a lot of these people right now are false prophets. Matthew 7:15, Christ warned us about it. They'd even be in the church.
And they are. And so, we hear these statements from our Pope. And remember, he's not the expert on it.
No, he's not.
The charism of his, infallibility, it doesn't pertain to matters of global and climate change. And, when he's speaking from the chair, Peter, on things of faith and morals.
Which he hasn't.
And he says it. He has to say that, he's speaking ex cathedra. And then this is just his opinion. That's it. So it's no better than mine. And now
our opinions have to be based on facts.
And so the green people, they love this Pope. Biden loves this Pope. Because he's not going to be put out the pasture and excommunicated like he should be. We've covered a lot of topics today, Jesse. I've got that new hero over there in Seattle.
We'll try to get him on the show.
That'd be great. You've been listening.
Hey,
go ahead.
If you like what you hear, then like us, hit the subscribe button, and share this show with other people. Let them know about Jesus 911.
Yep. Let's keep our prayers rolling. We got to open up this country. Get the churches back open. Pray your rosary daily. You can't be a friend of the show without praying the rosary, right, Jesse? You're not on the team. All right.
Up next, Gary Machuda. Sensei Gary, Hands on Apologetics.
That's right.
Don't change that dial. Out. 10-7. We're out. See you tomorrow.
St. Faustina's Prayer for Priests. O my Jesus, I beg thee on behalf of the whole Church, grant it love and the light of thy Spirit, and give power to the words of priests, so that hardened hearts might be brought to repentance and return to thee, O Lord. Lord, give us holy priests. Thou thyself maintain them in holiness. O divine and great High Priest, may the power of thy mercy accompany them everywhere, and protect them from the devil's traps and snares, which are continually being set for the souls of priests. May the power of thy mercy, O Lord, shatter and bring to naught all that might tarnish the sanctity of priests. For thou canst do all things. Amen. Virgin most powerful, pray for us.